The San Francisco 49ers draft class, there it is, the most significant pick, number 3 overall, Trey Lance, the guy they traded up to get. Jed York, team CEO, appearing on the 49ers Talk podcast, courtesy of NBC Sports Bay Area, addressing the quarterback situation now that they have both Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance.
You know, if we are in a situation where Jimmy goes out and takes us to the Super Bowl again and has an MVP caliber season and does it again, like there are worse dilemmas to be in. And Jimmy certainly has the ability to do that. I think Kyle's talked about that all along, and knowing it's the most important position in sports. And it's great to have a guy that you do believe in, that has gotten you to a Super Bowl, so you don't have to put the weight of the world on a rookie, whoever it was that we were going to choose. Now that we know that Trey is here, you don't have to put the weight of the world on that kid's shoulders, and he can grow into that position. For us, if you invest $25 or $50 million into your rookie to get them ready, then, I mean, to me, like we're investing in the long-term future of our team. You know, this Sunday, he turns 21. If he doesn't play until he's 23, you know, but he's got a 15-plus year career. I mean, you know, there were rumors about a guy, and obviously Kyle talked about trading for Aaron. How long did Aaron sit? 2-3 years before he played? And again, I want to make sure that we do everything that we can to make sure that that position is the best it can possibly be in the NFL. We're trying to build out a team that can compete for a championship today and can compete for a championship over a period of time. And we'll make the best decisions, not where, well, you know, you traded up and like this is the third pick and he has to play right now. Well, I mean, if he's the best player, then he would play. And if he's not ready to do it yet, we're not going to put that on his shoulders.
I really don't know what the 49ers are thinking. They're trying to create a market for Jimmy Garoppolo as best they can. And if they would get an offer that they like for Garoppolo, all this talk about, well, we'll keep Garoppolo, it'll be a $50 million investment getting our guy ready. We'll pay Jimmy $50 million over the next 2 years while Trey Lance quietly develops. And, hey, maybe he'll sit 3 years like Aaron Rodgers. Completely different situation. Rodgers was a guy who fell to the Packers.
Thank you.
And the Packers realized, here's an opportunity for insurance against this wishy-washy Brett Favre.
At
We
pick
never know when he's going to retire.
Right, or whatever. Right.
Yeah. Not, we're going to give up 3 first-round picks and a third-round pick for one guy that may or may not be our quarterback. We'll see. Maybe it'll be Jimmy G. And they're playing with fire here because, you know, it's not like a 10% chance Jimmy Garoppolo is able to play the full season. 2019, he played the full season. 2018, didn't. 2020, didn't. Maybe 2021, he will. And maybe the team does well enough that you tie your own hands for 2022, even though Garoppolo doesn't suddenly morph into Patrick Mahomes, and maybe Garoppolo in the Super Bowl once again fails to hit a guy who's wide open on a championship throw. So they are playing with fire here as they try to get something for Garoppolo, and they can pivot away from that anytime they want. And they can ultimately pay Garoppolo $25 million this year for whatever reason they want. They got the money. They got the cap space. If they want to do it, God bless you. But it just, Chris, I have a hard time picking up on a cohesive thread of a strategy as to what the 49ers are doing in a way that makes me believe that it all makes sense and that it's a strategy that is one other teams should be emulating.
I'm with you there, Mike. It does seem, you know, fly by the seat of the pants type of like strategy right now. There's no doubt about it. Yeah, I don't know what the messages they're trying to get out with the Jimmy G situation. You're right. I mean, hey, listen, that's the first thing I think of. Are they trying to like make these strong comments to drive up or drum up some trade interest? Do that? Or is it really just about, hey, like Trey Lance is a raw guy, and we're going to let Jimmy G play this year, and, you know, Trey Lance will just come in some Taysom Hill-type situations, and we'll get him some reps like that where he can run the ball and maybe throw a ball here or there. I don't know. That's where, and you're right. I mean, they are playing with fire. You know, I think the first thing is that this jumps out to me, like you mentioned it, the scenarios are different. And, like, it was Brett Favre. So Brett Favre is a little harder to beat out, you know, than, let's just say, Jimmy G. All right, so there's that angle first off. Like, I think if a year goes by, 2 years go by, and we're still not starting Trey Lance, I would be in the camp of, like, what's going on? Why can't he beat the number 20th quarterback in football out to be the starting quarterback? That wouldn't be a good look. And, two, it's just not a good look ever to have so many resources allocated to one spot. That's where you play with fire. Like you mentioned, like, hey, 2021, hey, the Jimmy G plays, they do well, they go on a playoff run. They have a playoff caliber football team. They get to the NFC Championship game. Yeah, you bring them back and you just go, well, I mean, we got like you said, over $50 million and 3 first-round picks. And they traded a pick to get Jimmy Garoppolo. All these assets have been traded for the quarterback position, and we're basically wasting some of it on the sidelines, let alone the last part of this, Mike, to me, just again, that does not make sense, and you've heard me say this. Like, this kid needs to play football. He's got to play. He can't be sitting on a bench for 2 years and doing that. That's the biggest issue in his game. And quarterback, as you've heard me say before, practice, great. Great. Practice is great. But until Aaron Donald's coming off the edge and they're disguising and people are yelling and all that, yeah, it's great. It's a nice practice. Whoopity-doo. It's just a different game. You can't emulate what goes on the field. So there's a lot of things here that I think are a little bit, confusing with the 49ers situation.
I almost feel like they have taken bits and pieces of different quarterback strategies that they've seen other teams employ over the years, and they've tried to create a Frankenstein monster out of it. Of all these different, it is maybe like Aaron Rodgers because maybe this will piss him off enough, sorry, Manchester, that Jimmy G will have a great year this year. Maybe he'll be really focused. That was one of the first things Kyle Shanahan said at the press conference they had after they made the trade. He's upset. Good. Be upset. Go out there and play well. Make us regret it. And so I guess what you could say is, if on one hand Jed York is going to claim they're making a $50 million investment via the compensation to be paid to Jimmy Garoppolo over the next 2 years in order to let Trey Lance develop, you could also justify this by saying we made an investment of 3 first-round picks and a third-round pick to get Jimmy G to finally be the guy that we think he can be. And it worked. And he got pissed off. And he played great. So now he's our starter. And, well, what are we going to do with Trey Lance? Well, we made that investment to get the most out of Jimmy G. But there's too many contradictions. There's too many inconsistencies. That's the problem with this 49ers strategy. Under pressure, it doesn't hold up. I'd love to cross-examine John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan, and Jed York for a couple hours each, because I would get them fairly quickly twisted in knots and use their words against them and demonstrate that at the core of this, Chris, there really isn't a strong thread of solid, clear logic. And I frankly think that this is a reaction to the fact that they blew it with Patrick Mahomes. They did. And they blew it with Tom Brady. They did. The 2 quarterbacks that they got to watch play in Super Bowl 55. They could have had each one, and they didn't. And this is their holy crap, we got to do something to rectify for ourselves the fact that we blew it on Mahomes and we blew it on Brady because Brady wanted to play for them, and they said, no thanks, we're good with Jimmy G.
I don't disagree with that. It does seem like a little bit of a overreaction to, those events that happened that have certainly, affected their football team. There's no doubt about that. This is like we talked about. It's a career-defining moment for Shanahan and Lynch. I mean, they're going to be attached to Trey Lance forever as we go forward here. And yes, so a lot of it doesn't make sense to me. I am one that's always said you don't trade up to spot number 3 for an unproven commodity that might not play for a year or 2 and give up 3 first rounds for that type of player. That I don't understand either. And the other thing too, just to bring it back to like Jimmy G a little bit, and this is where I'm a little like in the boat of, I think them trading Jimmy G now at this point, to me, is almost gone. It's sailed and gone, unless there's like some training camp injury, a la Teddy Bridgewater style with the Minnesota Vikings back in the day in the Sam Bradford trade. Because really, who else out there right now is going to really want Jimmy G? I mean, maybe the Houston Texans, maybe. I don't know, but they did just draft Davis Mills. They got Tyrod Taylor there as well. I don't think there's going to be any trade interest for him now. So the way they played this, and, of course, with the quarterback they ultimately ended up drafting, it seems like I think they're stuck with Jimmy G for this year for now.
It's entirely possible that Jimmy G has made it clear to the 49ers via Don Yee that under no circumstances will he take less than what he's due to make this year. So you can forget about trying to trade.
That's very true, too.
A restructured contract.
Right.
And if you want to hold me through preseason, training camp, up until Labor Day weekend and cut me then, and you think I'm not going to land somewhere else and I don't have guaranteed money, I don't care. I've made $100 million off of you guys already. I'll play that game. You want to play that game? Let's play that game. So the other side of this, and the last point I'll make before we take a break, I recommend that Kyle and John Lynch really, keep buy the NFT of the original master recordings of that podcast with Jed York. You may need it later when Jed York is asking you a bunch of tough questions about why you guys did what you did, because Jed York's on the record. He's all in. He's on board. Now, here's the reality. If things go to hell on roller skates over the next couple of years for the 49ers and this ends up being a disaster, Jed York's not the one that's getting fired for it. Yeah. As Jed York said a few years ago, you can't fire the owner, but you can't fire everybody else. And there will be accountability, and that's what makes this riskier than I think most people realize, Chris. If this fails, this is on Kyle and this is on John Lynch.
Yeah, I mean, yes, there's no doubt. I think when you take into all the surrounding events, the Jimmy G situation, how that's handled, everything like that, to trade up to number 3, yes, a somewhat controversial pick, also the angle of did you really have to trade up to number 3 to get Trey Lance? And I think you could say, I don't think they did, really, honestly. Just looking at it, looking at the board, it was a trade that was made very early on in the process, and maybe that it was made with jumping into conclusions of what you thought teams might do or anything like that. But at a base level right now, from what I know around the NFL and things I've said here and everything like that, I mean, if the 49ers didn't take Trey Lance at 3, nobody knows exactly where he would have landed. I know he would have gone in the first round, but I don't think it was in any danger of anybody in the top 10 taking him. And that's also going to be something that they're going to be kind of held under a microscope about, too, as we go forward.
And I'd love to know where that urgency came from. When you get Shanahan, Lynch, and York in a room, who's the one that finally blinked and said, damn it, we blew it with Mahomes, we blew it with Brady, we're not going to blow it this time. Do the effing trade now. And I don't know. But somebody pulled the pin on that grenade, and it's going to take a lot longer than 10 seconds for it to blow up, and it may never blow up, but when it does, Jed York is going to be well out of shrapnel range for it, so we'll see how that plays out over the next few years.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.